When I was preparing for the recording that eventually led me to Carnegie Hall, I didn't just practice harder, I practiced smarter. Today, I'm sharing with you the mindset of the top 1% of piano students. Someone once asked violinist Itzhak Perlman how he became one of the very best. His answer? When I practice, I get better. Simple, true, and in my almost 50 years of teaching experience, I found that it's also rare. But my students that had it were able to win major prizes like the gold medal at the Boston International Piano Competition and perform on NPRs from the top. If you're ready to practice smarter and become a musician that people want to listen to, keep watching. Secret number one of top pianists, top students, is to develop a concept in your mind of what great playing is, and also listen closely to yourself and compare the one to the other. It takes a lot of listening to beautiful performances to start to be able to hear the difference between a performance that's extremely well executed and a performance that's compelling and emotionally communicative. Top students have done that listening. They have a very refined ear, and they're constantly comparing what their playing sounds like to this ideal that they've crafted for themselves based on listening to other truly excellent performers. In my 20s and 30s, most of my free time, I was listening to the best recordings that I could find, and especially live performances by truly great artists. And this helped shape for me a concept of what is beautiful phrasing, what is beautiful voicing, and fantastic pedaling. Of course, I'd had lessons before and teachers that gave me feedback on these things, but listening to the really great artists gave me an even better sense of what it is that makes a performance compelling. So when I was making my CD of all American piano music, which is called American Retrospective, you can check it out on Spotify, I spent at least 6 months recording myself at home and then listening back and seeing, did I think this was as beautiful as I could make it? Is this performance something I could be really, really proud of? And by the time I'd finished that recording, I was extremely happy with how I sounded in all of the pieces. I used some of the recordings from that CD when I entered the competition that eventually gave me the prize to play in Carnegie Hall. And it can be hard to listen to yourself. Most people that I suggest it to do not do it, and they don't want to do it. And what's hard about it is you listen to the recording and you hear things that you don't like. And it's hard to be okay with that, to accept, okay, this is where I am and it's not where I want to go. And there always will be a gap from between where you are and where you want to go. And that's good. Otherwise, you're just going to sit still. You want to have somewhere to head towards. That is the meaning and the importance, I think, of being a musician. There's always more to discover, more to learn, further to go. And the thing that made it okay for me to listen to myself over and over and over again is I really cared more about the beauty of what I could create than the temporary emotional pain of listening to it and thinking, ooh, that did not sound good. Another part of that was I knew I had the skills that I needed to be able to make it sound better. And when I got a little bit stuck with it, I flew down to have a lesson with my teacher to have her point me in the right direction. I made my CD in the early 2000s, and since then, of course, smartphone technology has come light years from where it was then. So now it's very possible to do easy video recordings of yourself when you're practicing or when you're at a lesson. And top students are doing that. They record their lesson. Some take notes, careful notes. Some do both. And then they review the video and they pay attention to their notes. Most of the time, people do not have a good concept of what they actually sound like. And if you don't know what you sound like, how are you going to make it better? So that's the point of recording yourself. So even if it's painful at first, it's necessary. That's the only way you're going to get to where you want to go. One thing I have students do is I'll hold the camera and I have them make a video where they're talking to their future self and they're kind of summarizing what it is that we worked on or what they learned. And that can be very helpful for two reasons. For one, it kind of helps them integrate the main points of what we're doing. And then they have something to review at home. And I've had students tell me, like, when I watched the video back, I saw things I hadn't noticed when I was at the lesson. There's two reasons. One is that when you're at the lesson, you're hearing it for the very first time. And so it's not familiar to you. So you can't take it all in. That's the nature of the brain. We can't take in absolutely everything at once. But when you hear it again, it starts to make more sense and you start to notice more details. And the second reason is that the camera possibly and most likely has a different view of your hand than what you see with your eyes. So I definitely had that experience. One thing I had to work on for a long time is that my thumb would hang down here, sort of hang below the keys. And I was not aware of it because it was a habit. I was so used to it. But when I saw the video, I saw very clearly that my thumb was hanging down below the level of the keyboard. And that helped me become aware of how much I was doing it. And it made me able to tune into it more when I was practicing and then start to, get that thumb to be part of the hand and not constantly drooping down. Another secret of top students is that they're very interested in trying new strategies. They're interested, they're curious. Kind of like when I was into woodworking, anytime I saw a new tool I could buy, I really wanted to have it. As a result, I have a lot of things in my garage. Uh, Top students are not, when I suggest something, they're not resisting, they're not arguing, they're not giving a reason why they can't do it. And sometimes other students that don't progress that fast, that's definitely happening. The melody is going too quietly, I can't hear it. And they'll say, well, but it says to do it diminuendo here. It says piano. And it's like, well, uh-huh. And the melody should still be louder than the accompaniment. Um, I mean, if you have a question about how to execute that, the question might be, I don't know how to get the melody to be quiet enough and also bring the accompaniment down. I need help with how to play more quietly. That's different than arguing and saying, oh, well, I had a reason why I did it that way. And so your feedback, I'm not really going to listen to it. Another argument I get all the time is, yes, but I can do that at my house. It's like, uh-huh. And so what? But why can't you do it here? What is it that we need to explore that will help you so you can play it on multiple pianos, not just the piano you're used to? So all of those things can be addressed by changing your physical technique and making it so that it's more able to adapt to different pianos. Oh, another argument I get is, but I didn't get to warm up on this piano, and so I didn't know how it was going to sound, and I'm not used to it, and so it's really hard for me to do whatever musical thing, but at home I can do that. Again, you want to have your concept so clear, your technique so refined that you can adjust to different pianos. And yes, we're talking very high level here, but arguing and giving excuses about why you can't do that is not going to help you learn how to do that. Another secret of top students is that they're very interested in learning how to practice better. And in the last couple of years, I've been learning a lot about neuroscience-based practice techniques, and I've been sharing them with everyone that I'm teaching. And some people just love it, and they immediately go home and try it. And then one of them, I remember she texted me and she said, I love this clicking up method. I've been using it on all my pieces. It's awesome. And that's after hearing about it once. Other students are like, it's too confusing, it's too hard, they just kind of forget about it, they don't do it. Another one that I've been introducing everyone to is from Molly Gebrian. It's called 3-Break-3. And so you play a short section, like very short, like a measure, 3 to 5 things. You play it 3 times very carefully, making sure you make no mistakes. So that means playing it relatively slowly. You take a 10-second break, and then you play it again 3 times. And this is best for when you're learning something new that you don't know how to do yet. Notes, fingerings. It could be a physical movement that you're trying to change a movement. It could be something musical that you're trying to change. It could be you've worked out musically what you want a part to sound like, and now you're zeroing in on the section that you can't actually execute. So you could zoom in on that measure or two measures where you need to be working on the balance between the hands and diving into what does that feel physically that helps you execute the musical idea. So those are the types of things you would practice with this technique. The top students were willing to experiment and try these new techniques, even though they were different. They were challenging, like figuring out how to start in a spot that you're not used to starting at. They maybe were boring and not fun. They weren't like playing the piece through. You're just like playing little teeny bits over and over again. It doesn't really sound like music. But the top students were perfectly fine with all that, and the results showed. I mean, they improved quite significantly, much more quickly than the students that did not adopt these techniques. Another secret of the top students is that they come to their lessons prepared to ask about specific problem spots. They even bring a list where they write down, question about this, question about this, question about this, maybe even notating the measure number. That way, we can really focus our lesson times on the things that really will help them improve. And it also shows the mentality, and that's what's the most important about this, is that at home, they're troubleshooting. They're trying to do what I said. They can't do it. Something isn't working. They're not getting where they want to get. And they come to the lesson, they say, well, I tried it, and here are my problems and questions. And this is what helps them continue to move forward rather than being stuck back at square one or maybe square minus two, where they don't even really know what their problems are. The really top students are thinking about musicality from the beginning. They're working on secret number one, which is developing the very clear internal picture, or picture's not a good way, internal recording of what they want the piece to sound like. And then they're also focusing on developing those musical interpretive skills from the beginning of working on a piece. So for example, if I were working on learning a nocturne here, let's say I'm working on playing this piece. So I would not be practicing like, because that's not how I want it to sound in the long run. So let's say I'm a person, I can't really make it sound good. I can only do. So there's a skill missing. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to play those chords softly. So that's what I'm going to practice from the beginning. Measure one. Whenever I play that measure, I'm going to work on the voicing. This is louder than this. And those ones are really quiet. And the top students are also, they're doing what we talked about before. They're making a recording. They're listening to themselves. They're saying, oh, this sounds good. This doesn't sound so good. And they work on, how can I make the part that doesn't sound good? How could I make it sound better? And some of my best students, they come back and they've fixed things that I hadn't even commented on because they're listening at home so closely. They listen to the great artists. They create a beautiful sound that they heard on the recording. I've taught them the skills to be able to do that, but they take the initiative. They listen, they think about the sound they want, and then they actually are working on what they need to do to execute it. And they choose pieces that they really care about so that they're really putting effort into expressing emotionality in the music. I would say the stages are, you start with being able to execute the notes, rhythms, pedaling, whatever. You want to be sure that you're integrating your musicality from the beginning in terms of skills, which is what I was just showing. Thinking about the shape of the melody as you're learning the piece. And then once you get all that down, there's a whole other stage, which is how can I integrate emotional expression once I've mastered all these other things? These top students are working on that too. And there are absolutely techniques for that. So if you'd like to have a video about this phase, how do I put emotionality into my music? Let me know in the comments. Love hearing from you. Another secret of the top students is that they take a long-term view. They're willing to play pieces that they don't care about that much if they understand that that particular piece is going to help them learn a skill that will get them where they want to be. They trust me to recommend appropriate repertoire. It's not a giant leap up in difficulty that will help them gradually build up skills and have that layering of difficulty that's so crucial for rapid advancement. And they're okay with doing things that are boring or weird or hard because they understand that it will get them where they want to be. I remember a story that Albert Zerko told about Misha Dichter. He said, Misha was not the most talented student I had, but he was absolutely the hardest working student I had. And it's important to understand that working hard does not necessarily mean putting in countless hours, repeating the same thing over and over again, playing your piece from the beginning to the end over and over again. Working hard also involves these other things I've been talking about, doing things that are emotionally hard, doing things that are cognitively hard, like breaking your piece up to chunks and starting in the middle. So there's a lot of different flavors of hard, and endless repetition is not the only one. Another secret of really top players and pianists is that they're able and willing to tune into their body experience. That's a process too. It's a learned skill. Being able to be aware of what is my hand doing? What is my thumb doing? Where's my elbow when I'm trying to play this passage? And it takes something to develop over time, that sense of where you are in space. And as I said before, top students are patient. They take the long-term view, and they do these things that are hard, like expanding your ability to sense the body. And the top students actually really dive into that. They get very focused on how to do that, and they integrate it over time. And if you know what it is that you're physically doing, then you can change it. If you don't know what it is that you're doing physically, you have nowhere to start in terms of improving it. If you've got video recordings of what you're doing, that's another way to increase your ability to sense what it is that you're doing. You can study video and then try to execute and improve it, not moving your elbow in a funny way, not tweaking your hand. And I even have one student who took home the videos. He had me demonstrate it, and he took it home, and he said he watched the video over and over and over again in slow motion. And he said, I discovered things that you didn't talk about that I see you doing. And then I copied those things. And I was really impressed by that. It's not about being perfect today. It's about building your ability so you can create beauty in the long run. It's focusing on how can I get to that place where I'm creating music people want to hear and not worrying about feeling momentarily discouraged. If you want to dive even deeper into these secrets, join me in my community, The Well-Tempered Pianist. It's on School. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching.